Hi there, it's James from Rimo3, and in this video I'm going to take you through the Rimo3 PaaS deployment process. So when you first have your workspace provisioned by Rimo3, you would have received an invitation email to sign into Basecamp for the first time. So you sign in with your entry credentials and you will arrive at Basecamp, which is shown on the screen here. A few things here. So we've got a knowledge base, links, some video guides, and here you've got our checklist as well. So from here, for example, you can learn how to deploy Rimo3, which will open up the documentation in a separate tab so you can follow along there. However, to get started, what we want to do is head to one of the workspace screens. So because I'm a super admin, I can see everything, but typically you won't see this screen unless you're a partner that has access to multiple customer workspaces. So what I'm going to do is just select the workspace for this demo. And the platform knows that the resources haven't been deployed yet, so it immediately takes me to the Rimo3 deployment wizard. And this is the first screen, and basically we've got to go through these stages to, one, deploy some resources into your Azure subscription of choice. Then once that deployment has started, pretty much Rimo3 takes over, and in the background we'll start to provision some services within your Azure subscription. What we'll also do is do some checks on your environment to make sure there's nothing blocking the Rimo3 services, such as network ports, firewall ports. All of these are available on our prerequisites, so make sure you've headed over there to ensure everything is in place. If you are in a type of POC greenfield environment, everything tends to be pretty much okay. But if you are deploying this in your production environment where things are pretty much locked down, then you're going to really want to check those prerequisites out, as you'll likely need to take some action as part of this process. Again, all of these will be identified during that health check stage, which I'll show you as part of this video. And then finally, we just we can configure the particular OS versions that we want to use in the environment, or leave things as default. So let's get started. So to get started, let's go. And this takes us to the first stage, which is deploying the Azure resources. So what we have here is a registration key. So this is your workspace registration key that's generated by Rimo3. And basically, this is how we gatekeep the deployment of the Rimo3 resources in your Azure subscription. What we don't want is anyone off the street deploying these resources. We want them to be validated Rimo3 customers, either through free trial, free POC, or through a licensed customer. Basically, this enables us to gate it, but we're going to need it. So we can click on this button, and what it does is adds the registration key to our clipboard for use in the next phase, which will take place in the Azure portal. We've also got a video here if you want to just have a quick look around what to expect in this part of the process, but you're not going to need it here because I'm going to take you through it. So click on the Take Me to Azure button, and what this is going to do, this is going to take me to the Azure portal. And from here, you want to make sure you are signed in with the relevant credentials. So for example, I have subscription owner rights on this particular subscription and the dev sub, and that enables me to deploy this the Rimo3 environment. So because I'm in our pre-prod or dev environment, I need to select the appropriate plan, but typically this will be pre-selected for you in our production environment. Click Create. Okay, so this starts the marketplace offering wizard, and what we're going to do, I'm going to create a new resource group. So let's just call this. We've got some naming conventions that we stick to. in this environment. So I'm just going to call it that. You can select your region. So I'm in the UK South, so I'm going to stick it in UK South, hit next. And this is where we want to paste that registration key. So put it in there, and what we'll do, we just validate it real quick. Make sure it's a JSON Web Token, which it is, hit next. And now we want to create the VNet, so we can leave this as default if we want to, which I am going to. However, if you're doing this in your environment, you may want to use a specific VNet or set up your own, but I'm going to leave it as default. Here we do need to create a new storage account, and Azure requires a globally unique name. So I'm going to give this a go. See if anyone's used that. Nope. So that is available. Leave everything else as default. Hit OK. Hit next. Key vault name. Again, I'm just going to use my Rimo3 environment name for this. And hit next. And here we need to provide some credentials. So this is the local username and password for the gateway virtual machine that will be provisioned. So you want to remember what you use here. So I'm just going to use something straightforward for the purposes of this demo, because this will all be deleted afterwards. And then what we have here, we need to enter our Rimo3 workspace or tenant name in this block. So mine is called James. So I can type deployment demo. So let me just save some time and grab that. And bang it in here. Okay, job done. Last step. Now Azure's just going to validate the all the information that I've inputted to make sure it's all good. And now I can hit create, and now it's going to start. So let that deployment start, which is now in progress. And what we can do now, we can wait for this registration key to validate. This is the important next step. Or we can simply head back to the deployment wizard, and what we're waiting for is the continue button to appear here, which happens pretty much once this registration key that we inserted has been validated to ensure it's live and associated to the workspace. If any of you watching this have gone through our previous deployment process, you'll see a lot has changed. Previously in the marketplace offering, there was quite a few more steps that needed for you to go through. So we've replaced a lot of those steps with automation, and the registration key enables us to do that. Plus, you will see a lot of these screens have been, well, this entire process has been refreshed with much more modern looking screens. Okay, so that first step is completed now, and we can continue. And pretty much now it's a waiting game for this process. So what's happening now is those Azure resources are deploying into your subscription. As part of that deployment of resources, we have a virtual machine, which we call the Rimo3 Gateway, not to be confused with a network gateway. It's just what we call our sort of main orchestration VM, the Rimo3 Gateway. So that's provisioning alongside the VNet, Key Vault, storage accounts. So this bit doesn't take too long. The bit that does take a little while is the next step, is when we start to configure the gateway with our extension scripts. So yeah, you can pretty much just Hangouts for this bit to take place. End to end, we're looking at around 25 minutes. And you can see when I jump into Azure, we're just deploying the VM at the moment alongside some other resources. So this will continue in the background, and this will continue to refresh until enough is completed to enable us to move to the next step. So for the purpose of recording, I'm just going to let it sit here and speed things up until we're ready to proceed. Okay, this bit is now complete. So we have deployed the Azure resources. We've configured the gateway virtual machine, and we have finished registering it with the Rimo3 workspace. So that leads us on to the next stage. Just close the timer. And right now what we want to do is run the requirements checker. So just to make sure everything is in place in your Azure environment to ensure all of the Rimo3 services can run unhindered, to make sure we have no errors a bit later down the line. So this is going to start in a second. Once the gateway status and the agents are finished loading up and configuring. So let's just hang fire for this element, this part to start. Okay, so the checks are completed, so we can see they ran 14:38, which is my local time right now, and then we can see all of the rules that were tested. So if you want to know more information about each of these rules, you can expand each, and we have a corresponding troubleshooting guide for each of these that are available in our knowledge base. So you can check those out. And basically, we have the key here. So, for example, all green, rule pass, no action required. We have an amber warning, so it failed, but the deployment can proceed. And then we have this one that's failed, the red warning, and therefore you've got to resolve that before you can progress. So you have a couple of options from here. If you've got any failed ones, you can export this to PDF, which gives you a nice summary. We've got passed, number of rules passed, failed, any blocker rules, any warning rules, and basically you can download this as a PDF and provide it to the appropriate team that needs to resolve that issue for you. And once you've had confirmation that it's resolved, you can basically rerun the checks by clicking on this button here, and that will restart the requirements checker and recheck the rules for you, hopefully allowing you to proceed. And that's it. So we can continue to the next step. And on here, this is the final step where we can add any custom images that we've got. So if you've got custom images in your Azure Compute Gallery, you can add them here with the Azure Resource ID, or you can just leave these as default using the Azure Marketplace Gallery images, which we pre-select some for you here. Ignore this error. This is just a little small bug at time of recording, but you can leave this as default if you want to and just click continue. If you do make any changes, make sure you click the save button to commit those. So let's, for example, I could change this to Windows 11 22H2, hit save, and I can see they were saved successfully, and I can hit continue assent to finish. And that's it. Congratulations. We've made it to the summit and the deployment process is complete. And we can head over to Basecamp, or you can watch this short video on how to import your first app into Rimo3. But yeah, you can see here now we go back to Basecamp and we can tick off this, and we probably maybe want to import and subscribe to our first app. So to do that, we can go into Patch Catalog, but we can go to our Discovery dashboard and we can see this is our Rimo3 environment where we can get started, and then go to Patch Catalog to import our first application into the platform. Just go with Adobe. Select my workspace and click on board, and head over to the import sequence. And there you go. That is the deployment of Rimo3 PaaS and the first app being imported into the environment. Thank you for watching.